So what we'll do now is that we will run the regular Tune workshop that we do with a lot of teams. We've done it with hundreds of teams over the years. Sometimes we've done it with just a singular team. Sometimes we've done it across a whole organization to find out the levels of capacity throughout the organization. And sometimes we've done it on a whole organization at once in one big meeting. So everything is possible with it. And the purpose is just to get a fairly accurate reading of what's the level of sustainable capacity in each team. So I'm going to run the workshop as if you guys are the team, which is going to be impossible because you don't even know each other. And that is fine. So some of the parts we'll just skip and talk about what would have happened. But the purpose is really that you should get a feel for what the workshop is like and also be able to facilitate it yourself. And I am recording this because I will put it out there online on the Tune website for others to be able to endure 90 minutes of YouTubing just to understand the workshop, possibly at twice the speed or something. Good, and you're not going to be within the Miro board that I'll be showing. I'll just show some stuff from it. At one part, you will be forced to do a calculation, and you can do it on your phone or on your computer, and I'll send a link to that. Are there any questions before I just act as if we would have a real workshop?
Just one, Mats.
Yes.
Will there be a short coffee break?
I doubt it.
Okay.
But no one will notice if you sneak away to get something.
I will survive.
Yeah, but I'm glad you asked, Therese.
I have
good.
one question.
Yes.
Question. It would be super nice if everybody has their camera on.
Yeah, that is also fantastic. Thank you for shouting it out, Veronica. And there's no embarrassing in eating. I will also be eating while facilitating.
It feels more present when everybody has their camera on.
Yeah, so if possible, have your camera on. Good. So let's just kick it off and talk a little bit about why are we here today. And we're here to get some kind of a reading of what our true capacity is in this team. And when we do that, we are totally depending on you being brutally honest. So we want this reading because probably someone else has an assumption that our capacity is really, really high or really, really low, and it's far from where we think we are. So the reading is more about getting to the same level of understanding, like this is our capacity, and also potentially to get some learnings like about what kind of work we actually do and how much time we spend on them. The readings might be presented to management, but if it is, your team name will be removed because this is your data. We want to see the pattern on the management level. Like in general, we have this capacity, but it's of no one's interest to point out a specific team and to start comparing because it's not comparable. If you work in a greenfield area, you have nothing to take care of. You will have a high grade of capacity for new things. And if you've been working in a big complex system for 20 years, you're going to have much more maintenance to take care of, which means your capacity will be lower to take on new stuff. It's just not comparable. So we're not interested in what you do in your timesheet reporting or what is the expectancy that you should have this capacity. We're more interested in what is it in reality, because we all know they can differ. And what we're aiming to do is to fill out something like this. We're going to find out how much time we spend on each work type in relation to 100%. So how much part of our time goes into each work type. And since that varies over time, I mean, if we had like a big incident last week, it's going to affect our balance. Then we would have spent much more time in unplanned work. So to even that out a bit, we're going to think about the last 6 months. So we're going to try to do that, and it's not going to be accurate. We're not here to do accuracy. We're here to get the general picture, the general idea. So at the end of this 90-minute workshop, we're going to have something like this, showing our levels, and also some indicators here on the right, like is there some level that we're kind of okay with, or do we want to change them? It's like we're going to highlight them green and red and give them some arrows if we want them to go up and down. So that's what we're going to do, and the way we're going to do that is pretty much like planning poker. So if the team has done planning poker before, you give sort of your private estimate, and you give that individually without seeing the others, and then we release the numbers, and we discuss them and come up with something together. It's pretty much the same mechanic in play here. So that's what we're gonna do. Are there any questions? That's a lot of head shaking. That's good. Before we move on, it's important that we sort of understand the concept. So I'm just going to do a recap of this those tune work types. Is there anyone that did not have time to watch those 3 short videos that we sent out before? That's good. There's always someone. That's what we ask. And we have reserved time in the workshop to deal with this. So if I get out of character now, we do always send out those 3 videos, number 2, number 3, and number 5. That's all you need sort of to get the general picture of this concept. But there's always someone in those workshops that has not had the time or didn't see that notification or something messed up. So we do a recap. So the basic concept of Tune is that we have our working time. It's pretty fixed. We usually work like 8 hours a day, or 5 hours a day, or 4 hours a day if we're contracted like that. It doesn't matter. We have our working time anyway. And then we take away some different kind of work types. We always have to go to different kind of meetings that has nothing to do with what we produce. It's like a staff meeting, all hands, one-to-one. We might have, I don't know, KPI measurement meetings or whatever it is. It does not have to do with the code we produce. It's something else, time for other stuff. So we always spend time on that. And if we take that away from our 8-hour day, we have less left. And then we have the unplanned work, the red work. That's where we have to put out some fires. We have an incident in the team, or some other team just stumbles into us and say like, hey, I need help with this API, and I need it now, like in 5 minutes, and we didn't have it in our plans. So it's unplanned work that we have to deal with. So we have to reserve time for that as well. And then in almost every team, we have some kind of technical debt, or call it maintenance if you want, stuff that we need to do, but we don't. And some of that we really, really, really need to do. And that's what we call the needed tech debt handling, or such. And it could be like every Monday morning we have to restart this database, otherwise it crashes. It could be like, if I don't do this documentation now about how to handle incidents, service desk won't have a clue what to do. Those things we just can't push to the future. So it's, the black stuff is that kind of work. So we take away that time too, because we can't really choose. We have to do that. And then the fourth one is experiment time. And this is where we lab. You should not confuse that with time with elaboration we do when we try to solve a puzzle. Because normally when we code or we produce something in development, or whatever we do, because this concept works for other industries than IT, but we have to experiment to come up with a solution for our product. That is not the experimentation time we're talking about now. We are talking about experimentation time that is not connected to what we do. It's like hack days, learning Mondays, where you just sit down on Monday morning and read a book about something interesting that might be interesting for the team, but we don't know. So it's that kind of experimentation where we really is like, I want to learn how to code in React, but we don't code in React. No, but we might have use for it. I don't know. Or let's experiment with this new database technology or whatever it is, just for the sake of it. It's that kind of time. And if we take away all these yellow, red, black, and blue work from our working day, whatever is left, that is our capacity to deal with new cool functionality. It's simple math. And then there's one more thing, because we always want to squeeze in more new cool green stuff. That is how the game works. And if we have to do that, either we have to expand the working time, which is usually not sustainable. We have to work overtime, or we have to take away something else. And you can't really take away unplanned work because you can't plan it. It's unplannable. So then usually what happens is that we shrink this one, right? We do less of that. We do less of documentation. We do less of refactoring and that kind of stuff that helps us in the future. So if we do, what happens to the other one? Is there anyone else that's going to be affected now if this one shrinks?
I can just
The
talk
unplanned work.
The unplanned work, but the experiment time, that is something that I see, at least for us, that is
Yeah, the unplanned work, what happens to that one? It grows, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And what about this one? Does that one grow? No, usually not, because it's really expensive and we don't want to do it. We do want to do it on paper, but we never do. So basically what happens, and anyone working in IT teams know this, but management doesn't always do that. So basically unplanned work will increase. And if that one increases more than we took away from here, what will suffer? If this doesn't match up, we can't fit it because this one got so big. Which one is affected then? Where do we take this time?
From the new core stuff as well.
Exactly.
So yeah, like quality will suffer as well, and customers are not going to get the amazing products or features that they seek.
Yeah. So this one has to come down if this one goes up. That's the game of it. That's basically all we have to understand. And then we sort of take some concrete examples. Okay, so we have staff meetings, that is clearly yellow. But then if the team is doing Scrum, where do we put that? Is that green time, yellow time, red time, black time? What kind of time is that? The question, you can answer if you want.
I didn't get the question.
So our ceremonies from Scrum, In which box would we place them? It's a tricky question. That's why you have to think. Normally, if we have a stand-up, we would talk about, I have to go to a meeting today. That's yellow. We would say like, I saw in the logs in the morning we have an incident. That's red. We might talk about I have to do some refactoring today. That's black. So we're going to talk about all of these work types in our stand-up, as well as in our planning. The easiest way to deal with this is to label all our ceremonies as yellow. Otherwise, we have to share them. It's like, well, in our dailies, we talk about yellow work for 8%, and then 50% about the conversation is about the red work, and it's going to be really messy. So the easiest way is to label it like yellow work. It doesn't really matter as long as we think as one team. Everyone in the team thinks the same way. So the red one would be our incidents, right? That is pretty clear. But it's also unplanned work that we couldn't foresee. I mean, if people constantly run into our area and say like, I need help now, that is unplannable work. It's not unplannable. It could have been planned probably if someone thought about it, but it is unplanned for us right now. The black work, if we take some examples, again, that is, we just finished something in our sprint, but we haven't documented it. Okay, we might have to do that. Or we just created 1,000 lines of code, but it could be 300 if we just refactor it and make the same application run with 300 lines of code instead of 1,000, which is going to be way, way better, way more stable, less prone to fade. So that is black work. Any questions about the work types and what they actually mean? And we might have details like this or that, and we will sort that out in the following conversations. But in general, good. Then it's actually time for you to work, because what we'll do now, before we do that, I'll just do a recap of these, because up here I have some notes. What we do here is we always make sure we know why we're doing this, and that we depend on the team being really honest, regardless of what the time sheet says. And we need to build that kind of trust fast if we don't know the teams. Sometimes we facilitate teams that we don't know on a daily basis, because I might not be the Scrum Master, I might be an Agile coach or a consultant or some other guy just coming in. So it's really important in that phase to build trust. Otherwise, they will answer protectively. You get the wrong reading, and you get no value out of this. And on the other note, the one we just did here is like quick recap. We'll try to do some real examples from the team's context. Now you're not a proper team, so you don't even have a context. But if they do, I mean, if it's a back-end team, have back-end examples for them. If it's a front-end team, have front-end examples, etc. And don't dwell here. If they just understand it well enough, it's like, okay, I got the general picture. That's fine. The rest will sort it out during the conversations later on in the planning poker phase. Make sense? Good. Have a few nods at least. Then it is actually time for you to do your work. You can do it on pen and paper if you prefer, or there is a sort of like an app for it. You can go here and just type in tune.rocks in any web browser. That lets you slide these work types. And what I want you to do for like 5 minutes is just think about your own working situation the last 6 months. Try to do sort of the average, and just drag those ones back and forth until you feel like, yeah, this represents how I work. So you're going to do that now. Tell me if you have any problems going into this link. Normally, someone raise their hands right now and say like, should I think as me or as the team when I do this? And the question is yes. So the answer is yes. It doesn't matter. Someone will think about their own situation and someone will think about, I think the team has this situation. And it does not matter because we will sort it out in the conversation later on. And for you, it's going to be totally impossible to do the team perspective now. So you just have to do your individual perspective since you're not a team. So are you clear on the task? Go to this place, drag those bars or just relate on pen and paper so you get a number on each work type. And it cannot be more than 100%. That is math again. So hit it. Whenever you're done, you can just ping me in the chat, so I'll know. Are you done as well? Yes, there you go. Perfect. So you all have your perception of what your work balance is right now, and you're according to these 5 work types. So what we're going to do now is we're going to see what it looks like. So I'm gonna take out the numbers. So if I start now, I just have normally in a meeting I would let you into this board, or if we're in a physical meeting, it's just easy to go from left to right or whatever. Now I'm just gonna ask you. So Veronica, what's your number on yellow?
20.
20. And Jeanette, what's your number on yellow?
30.
30. Yes. And Nora, what's your dog's?
10.
10. And Therese?
20.
20. So we have another 20 here. Yes. And Stefan,
20.
are you as one or as two persons? You're as
I
one.
can have me as one.
Yeah. And oh my God, this name is hard. B-O-4-E-V-E.
Okay, that's probably me. Yeah. 33 then.
Yeah, and what's your name?
It's Eric.
Okay, cool.
It's
Eric.
my OnePlus.
Ah, I got it. Now it makes sense.
We have a kind of a YouTube policy internally.
That's good. All right, so this is what our sort of spread looks like. So it looks like we have an average about around 20, and then we have some lows and some highs. And normally what I do at this point, I want to talk about the lows and the highs. So I would ask the person who gave 10, it's like, let us know how you reason about this. What makes it 10? And that person might say like, well, I don't go to these meetings because I'm new, or whatever the reason is. It's like, I think about the Scrum ceremonies, I put them in a different color, so I extracted them from here, or whatever the reason is. It's like, let's just hear it so we understand it better. Just like you would have done in planning poker. It's like, oh, you gave this one a 2. Why? Well, because I think it's super easy. And then I would ask about the high numbers as well, the 30 and the 33. And there someone might say like, all I do is run around in meetings. Usually what comes up here is that some of the high numbers on yellow, they say, I run to a lot of design meetings where we think about what to build. And then we could have an argument or sort of reasoning like, is that yellow time, or is that actually time connected to what we are building? So that would count as green time. Green time, new cool stuff, is not just when we are coding or building that HR policy or whatever we are working with. It is anything related to that moves us forward. So we would have this reasoning for a bit, and then and usually on this first note, on the yellow one, there is a bit of confusion. It's like, oh, I didn't think about that way, and there's like weird things going on because this is the first color we're doing. So this one always takes extra time. Normally this one I count for like 20 minutes for this one.
Just to clarify, Matt, 20 minutes for this for the T part only. Oh, yes. Thanks.
I'm going to show you that at the end. So I have a time schedule for this workshop, and this one usually takes 20 minutes because they haven't done it before, and frankly, people are not that good at planning poker either, it turns out. When we ask them, like, have you done planning poker? They say, yeah. And then it shows what they do is they do a mathematical average of their numbers, which is not the same thing as planning poker. So they have never been having the discussion about the highs and the lows. So it's new to them anyway. So this one usually takes about 20 minutes. But that includes the next step, because when we have done this reasoning, what I ask the teams to do then is like come up with what you think is the good average number. And I did not have your numbers prepared. This was done yesterday. It's usually around 23% for most teams. But in this case, it might be actually pretty accurate. But so when I've done this, I've taken the numbers from them. I ask about the highs and the lows. Then I give the sort of the facilitation to them. It's like, now you have a few minutes to come up with, given what you just heard and what you see on the numbers, what is the number you want to put here as your team number? And then they have a reasoning, blah, 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 blah. And I have to facilitate that if they go too deep or too much to the right or to the left. But usually within 5 or so minutes, I just ask them, like, okay, what's your number going to be? And I use a little trick. If they can't come up with something, then I ask, like, is it 30? And they will say, no. Okay, is it 20? No. Is it lower than 20? No. Okay, how about 25? Yeah, maybe 27. Okay, there we go. So if they, give them a high number, and if they sort of protest, give them a really low number in the area where we are working. And if they protest about that one, suggest something in the middle, and usually they will come up with something. And this is a good time to remind them that we are not calculating mathematically precision. We are doing an estimate, which means everyone is taking their gut feeling about what has my work balance given these work types been for the last 6 months, and it's impossible to know with an exactness. So this is a guessing game, but we try to sort of get the general picture as a team and agree on something, and they usually do, or actually they always do. So that's good. And once we've established that number, and I usually ask the question, is someone going to leave the room if we put 23 here in protest? And they will say, no, it's pretty fine. So then it's good enough. If someone says, like, no, I really can't agree on that, then we'll take the discussion one more loop. It's like, what's your suggestion? And then sometimes, actually it happened, someone says, like, I really want it to be 24. I was like, okay, 23 or 24 doesn't really matter. It's about a quarter of your time. So once we've established that number, we go to the next one and do the same thing once more. And let's hear your number in the same order. So Veronica, what's your number there?
10.
10. And Jeanette?
40.
40. And then Nora?
25.
Yeah, and sorry, Nora, how do you pronounce your name?
That's perfectly fine. Depends.
Now, but how do you pronounce your name?
With Swedish, Nora. With Finnish,
Nora.
Nora.
Nora. Yeah, good. What was your number again?
25.
25. This is where I usually make my joke that my hardest part of this job is to know where to leave spaces if I do this on a whiteboard. Now I can just push the numbers down. It's really easy. Therese?
22 for me.
22. And Erik and Stefan, you can go together.
35.
And I get the highest, 46.
46. This is now I can't do this now because you're not a team, but usually you can read something out of this, those numbers. Normally, the ones that are really high have worked longer. They have more years in the company, which means they know more stuff, which means they get to handle more shit. And the ones that are really, really low are more junior in the team. This is not true or exact, but pretty often I can spot that. If someone says, like, I have 60% and the rest have like 20, then I ask, like, how long have you been in the company? And they say, like, yeah, 20 years. That makes sense. And sometimes we have people putting up a 0 here. I have 0%. And then I can ask them, are you sort of newly employed? Yeah, I started last week. How did you know? Like, yeah, makes sense.
You're correct. I have 17 years, so
yeah.
In my case, you're correct. All right.
So it's confirmed here as well. Cool.
Yes, I get a lot of questions. So
yeah, and then also it happened. I mean, sometimes the team is generally high. That indicates other stuff, like what is the health of our product, or how many products do we have to take care of, or do we have a crappy incident process or something like that. But when you have spread within the team, normally you can tell if there is a senior versus junior situation. It doesn't really matter, but and we do the same thing here. So we ask to the lows to present their situation and the high to present their situation. And normally during this part of the conversation, this is where the team learns stuff about themselves. And they look at, in this case, maybe Eric, and say like, do you deal with all that shit? We didn't know. We truly didn't know that you spent so much of your time dealing with all this. So it's usually an eye opener for the team. And also it might be worth, let's see, no, none of you probably experienced that, but it might be worth asking another question here is like, okay, out of this number, how much is actually incidents, stuff that has been broken, and how much is other unplanned work? So it's a good follow-up question, because unplanned work, the definition, if you recall it, is like we couldn't plan it. Someone just hit us with it. It can be plannable work. So in one instance, I did this for a whole IT organization, and we found out that 40% out of the unplanned work, not that the unplanned work was 40%, but 40% out of that number was because they had a crappy incident process. So basically what happened is that during the pandemic, they fired the whole service desk. They had to. And then they reinstalled it later with junior staff. And they didn't know how to navigate the organization and the complex code base. So they shot off the incidents to the wrong team. And the teams weren't able, due to the complexity, to tell this is not ours. So they dig deep until they find like, no, our machines are working. And then they send it back to service desk again. And then service desk, I don't know, because I didn't work with them, but it felt like they were just rolling a dice. It's like, okay, let's send it to team number 3 and see if they can handle it. And it went on and off and on and off. And the time the whole organization spent on this was like 40% of the unplanned work. So the trick to deal with that was to fix the routing problem from service disk. So you can get a lot of information by asking a follow-up question here, because the incident process is usually a separate animal within the organization. Does it make sense?
Yes.
Good. So we would do the same thing again. And in this case, I'm just gonna quickly miscalculate that in my head. Say you came up with 27% is your average in your team, given the lows and the highs and whatever you had the discussion there. And then we would do the same. I'm not sure. Yeah, we do. It's good. So we'll take the numbers here again. It's just to make a point. So Veronica, what's your black number?
25.
25. And Jeanette?
10.
10. And Nora?
30.
30. Therese?
21.
21. Stefan?
10.
10. Erik?
14.
14. All right. And again, we would ask about the lows and highs. And what usually happens here is that some members of the team have a definition of what we do as either green or black. If you remember, the green is the new cool stuff. So for example, if we are building, we are moving things from on-prem to cloud. For some team members, that is black work. It's something we just have to do because we can't have it on-prem anymore. It doesn't give us any new functionality that we're looking for. It's just like we can't be on-prem because the license blah 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 ended or whatever. So we need to just shift it to cloud. And for some other team members, they think like, yeah, but we're building this new cool thing in the cloud. So they label that work as green work. And so then at this point, we usually have to have a reasoning about what is what. And it doesn't matter what is what, as long as the team agree what it is. I usually try to guide them if they need some guidance on that with the word capability. So if we're doing it because we want a new capability that we didn't have before, it's probably green. If we do it because we have to do it, because the capabilities we already have will break if we don't, it's probably black. So it's more like to reason why we are doing it, not what we're doing. We are coding in both, but the reason why we're doing it might help us to establish if it's green or black. Does that make sense to you? I see at least a few nods.
It makes sense.
Yeah. And Stefan, just so the others know why you're not having cameras, is because of your policy. You can't have cameras because it's being recorded. Yep. It's not that you're very unpolite.
Yes.
Good. So that will. I'm just thinking about if there's any other conversations that pop up here. Now that's the most common one here is that we mix up if it's new cool functionality or if it's something that we have to do.
And then you, just to double check, Mats, then you always discuss on the purpose of why we are doing the thing.
Yeah.
That's,
and I mean, so, if they have a definition in the organization, like this is what we call maintenance, and they have it labeled.
Could be.
Usually they don't, but if they do, we just point at that and say like, let's call it that. But then there is probably something in that definition that is missing. It's like, I've never seen refactoring in the definition of maintenance, for example. And that has to be considered as well. And the key thing here is that it doesn't matter how they label it. I think I have, is it in this picture I have here? No, I have another picture where from an actual workshop, they came up with 2%. 2% capability for new functionality. And they had 50% on black. And then we had a discussion and we realized like, okay, we are doing that transition from on-prem to cloud. And we consider that black work because we don't get any new capability that we're looking for. So, and it was a 2.5 year project to move everything from on-prem to cloud. So they said that we're going to spend basically all our capacity on that for the next 2.5 years. And we think it's black. So we just drew a little cloud symbol next to the 50% number to remind ourselves like, this is a high number, but their definition of work is that what they're doing is not something that we want to do, but we have to do.
Oh, but then it was a decision made and a purpose for it and clarified.
They were doing the right thing.
That's better than nothing.
Exactly.
What about the nature of applications? Would that also be part of the discussion?
Sometimes. Do you have an example?
I mean, for example, in our team, we have a lot of old applications, both back and front end, that just are in the maintenance mode until further on this, and these have to be maintained, and it's not adding new capabilities or functionalities or any of it. Just make sure that they run.
Yeah, and if our team are just handling all those applications and do nothing new, then this number would be really, really high, and the green would be really, really low. That is also a fair assumption. We have one of the videos in the tune is about two what do you call them, piggy banks, spargrisar. It talks about this. It's like for every coin we put into production, every new feature we put into production, we had to add some coins of unplanned work and needed tech debt. And everyone working with IT knows that, but we forget it sometimes when we think like, yeah, this team will have an average of 30% for new cool stuff forever. And it's just not true. If we put more and more and more stuff into production, our capacity will shrink and shrink and shrink and shrink if we don't put anything out of production. It's a decommission stuff. And we might have those teams, Nora, that has really high numbers on the black and really low numbers on the green, and it's totally fine because what they do is just maintain the old stuff. And yes, Veronica, it's way harder to remove things. That's why we're in this soup. And that's what help. I mean, Tune can actually help having that discussion on a management level. So yes, Nora, it's like it matters what kind of tech stack we have, what kind of applications we run, if we're working greenfield or brownfield. I mean, greenfield teams are going to have really, really low one-digit number here, whereas brownfield teams will have a high number. It just makes sense. So I'm just going to assume that given your 5-minute discussion, you came up with 23% is your good number here, given all the conversations you had. And now we talked about the yellow normally takes 20 minutes. Now it's starting to go faster because they understand the concept much more. So we'll do the last one, the experiment. I'm not going to ask your numbers, but we would have some numbers. Usually they're kind of low. They're going to be something like this. And then what happens is we're going to have a confusion about what is experiment time, because some of the high numbers here will say like, yeah, when I, for example, last week coded this new function, I had to spend both Tuesday and Wednesday experimenting how to do that. And then I draw something like this. It's like when we have an idea about what to build, our path to coming up with a solution is really not a straight line. So we experiment. This is how we work with the coding. That is the way we work with new cool stuff. That's not the experiment time we're talking about here. We're talking about lab time, reading a book, just learning a new coding language, or go to a seminar to learn new cool stuff, like you're doing now. It's that kind of time we're looking for. And then they go like, aha, well, then it's 0. Yeah, makes sense. Because not many people have this kind of time. So it's usually around 0 to, I don't know, 8, 9, maybe 10% sometimes. So it's a good sort of image to have to clarify what is experimenting when we work with a new and when we work with experimenting properly. And then we will give that number and we'll give that a 4. And now, I'm really bad at quick math, so I'm probably going to make this wrong. Let's make this 7 because it's way easier to calculate then. Because then we have 50, 80. Now I would say like we don't have to spill out the numbers for the green because we can do our math. This one is 20%. Because our time cannot be more than 100%. And then someone will protest, and then they go like, yeah, you're probably right, yeah. Okay, because that is the whole formula. We have our working time, we deduct all the other work types, whatever is left is this. But then for good measure, let's see if it was okay. Then I ask for the numbers and then I get the numbers, and usually they kind of are right. So we'll get in that area. And when we are at this point, I would just ask them, summarize this and say like, okay, it looks like you spend roughly 23% of your time for other stuff than what we're actually working on, and meetings and etc. And you have included your Scrum ceremonies, if you have them, into this number. And we spend about 27% on unplanned work, and we have a fairly low rate of other kind of unplanned work in that. So it's mostly incidents or whatever we came up in the discussion. So I just summarize this and land in the discussion. It's like, then it means we have about 20% capacity to build new cool stuff. And usually at this point, people go like, huh, that's pretty low. And the normal numbers, actually, the yellow is about 20-25. The red one is also somewhere around low 20s to 40s. It's a pretty regular number. Black and green can vary extremely, since what we just talked about. Someone will have 50 on it, and someone will have like 2% on it, depending on what you think is why we do it. Experiment time is normally a few percent, 2 or 3%. That means that new cool stuff is, in average, of the 100+ teams I've been doing this with, as somewhere between 25 and 35. And the funny thing is that if you ask management, how do we calculate team time, they usually say, yeah, we have a key number, we deduct 20% of their time for other stuff, and we assume that they have 80 to work on. And the assumption might be that those 80 are green stuff, and it's probably not. So if you take the Pareto's rule, management might think that we have an 80-20 situation, whereas we actually have a 20-80 situation. And that confusion might create some friction in our organization. All right. Any questions at this point? This is not rocket science. It's pretty straightforward, right? So,
Yes.
what? Yes. Was there a question?
No, it's not a question. I agree.
You agree? Yes. This is common sense. So the next step, we have kind of established what we look like as a team. But it's good to follow up this with another perspective. So now I would ask the team members in their easiest fashion possible. Usually I just use the Caesar thumb. It's like if it's thumbs up or stay there or go down. But I would ask for each number here, it's like, okay, the yellow, 23%, are we happy with that? And then the team would give like an estimate. It's like, yeah, we're happy with it. And then I would give it the green, just indicates like, yeah, we're happy with it. Sometimes this is pretty hard for people to sort of, sorry for the zooming there, to understand what we're looking for. And then you can ask them like, if we do this again in 6 months, and if it's still 23, would you be okay with it then, or would you be disappointed? So it's just a follow-up question to further enhance it. And then we go down to the next one, and we say like, are you happy with spending 27% of your time sort of putting out fires? And sometimes they are, because it's the nature of the tech stack, and sometimes they're not. So they would use their thumbs again, and then I would make a point if there are many thumbs down, then we say like, okay, so it's generally thumbs down. Where do you want it to go? Do you want it to be higher or lower? Nobody wants it higher, but it's just the sake of it, just to point it out. So the team usually wants this one to go down. Sometimes they're happy with it because it's the nature of the tech stack. There's nothing you can do about it. And then you would just continue on this. And sometimes we have diversity within the team. So half the team says like, yeah, I want this one to go down. And half the team says, I want it to continue because I think it's the right level. Then I'm not fuzzy about it. So I'll just put both arrows. It helps me understand like they want both. It's not a digital thing. It's not, we don't have to put it into a tool. We're doing this on a whiteboard or a Miro board, so we can have 2 arrows on it. We don't have to agree at this point. It's fine. So we'll do this again. And especially on this one, we sometimes have a situation that looks like this. Because when I ask you, is it a good situation? No. Okay, where do you want it to go? I want it to go down, but in order to have it go down, I think we must invest time and make it go up first. So we need to invest more time in sort of doing that so we can get it down. So sometimes we get 2 arrows here, indicating sort of a trend curve. But the basic concept is just to ask them, or do you want to have this number again in 6 months? And they say no. Okay, where do you want it to go, up or down? And then there is a reasoning, especially on the black one, because you have to invest in that. And you would do the same for this, and then normally it looks like this. Sometimes you have a green on the experiment time. They say like, yeah, I can do that on my spare time. So it can look like this as well. It doesn't really matter what it looks like. It's the team sort of wish where they want to go with this. And it's fine. Whatever is fine, as long as they agree on most of the parts, or agree to disagree, as we do on this one. And when we are at this point, we actually fulfilled the poster that we had in the beginning. So now we have this. We have established what kind of share we have on our time for our different work types, and we have indicated if we're happy with it or if we wanted to move in a certain direction. And that was the goal. We just want to have a sort of a measurement on that. What usually have happened now in the team is they had a lot of discussions and they had a lot of aha moments, and they want to do something about it. And they can. It's just usually not my job. It depends. If you're a team coach, then you can sort of start to work on these red arrows. Where do we want to start? How do we get there? What do we do? What should we try next sprint, or whatever? Normally, I'm not there so much. But we've done it, and then I just moved to the last chapter of this session, and that would be to just explain what we did, summarize the numbers again, and share them for being such a great, honest team, and just tell them what will happen with this information that they have provided. And normally, in my case, we do this usually over a lot of teams, and then I have to be totally honest with it and say, like, I will give this to management, but I will remove your team name on the chart. So I will do that, and we will have many charts, and we will look at the total trend, and I will make it impossible for the management to compare you, because they would have to ask team leaders or scrum masters or engineer managers or whatever for that kind of information. They know what team it is. We just want to look at the bigger trends if we do this on many teams. And if we work on the team level, then you would have all the possibilities to deal with it. So it's like, where do we take this? Do we take it into the next retro or whatever? And that's pretty much it. That's what we do. I'll just show this one, and then we can move to questions. So in this one, I have sort of like the normal time setup. It's ready here. So we spent 5 minutes on explaining why we're here today and to build that trust. Spend another 5 minutes on explaining how we do this. It's not probably exactly 5 minutes, but something like that. And then if they saw the video, we spend 5 minutes on doing the recap. Otherwise, usually it takes about 10 to just to do the full explanation of the work types, and give some real examples from the team's situation to make them understand it. I usually give 5 minutes to vote. Some people say it's really hard to do it in 5 minutes, but we're not there for an exact number. We're looking for indications, so it's usually good enough anyway. And then, as we talked about before, normally don't be scared if you do this one and you feel like, oh, I'm losing tempo here. This is not going to go well because we're spending so much time on the T. You do. It's normal. You spend 20 or so minutes here to find out all the steps and do the discussion. But once they get up to speed, you can spend the 40 minutes on the rest of on-panel work, needed tech depth, and experimenting, and including the new. So it's 40 minutes for that. And then just a quick round of, are you happy with these numbers? It's pretty fast to do this thumbs thing, or sometimes you do a red and green notes. They have like a post-it block, and they have what do you call it? A panel of judges. It's like, hold your green if you're happy and hold your red if you're not happy with it. And you just have a sign system for that. Oops. And then we just go for 5 minutes for the outro and summarize it and tell them what happens now and just cheer them up for being such a great team, which they always are, by the way. So that thing is here, and this Miro board is accessible from the website. So you can just enter it and browse around it. And I'm going to actually make sure that the RTB file is accessible as well. So you can just download a copy and have your own and, take away what you don't want. I'm going to try to fix that maybe tonight. All right. Any kind of questions or reflections?
Just out of experience from you, Mats, how is the reaction usually amongst the IT management team that you present this for? What is the aha moment for them? Is there a particular this is a usual reaction or something?
I think the reaction is basically way before we do this. It sounds weird, but for example, one organization that I did this with, then we had discussions about how much time do you think the teams have to work on your stuff that you're pushing into the system? And they would say yeah, we have this thing that we deduct 20 or 25% or whatever it was. And I say, I'm going to prove you wrong. It's the other way around. They have 30% around that number. Are you willing to give me 90 minutes with the teams to find out what the situation is? And they go like, wow, then you have a reaction. And once we sort of provide the data, it's like, okay, you're right. But it's really a healthy one, especially if you have a sort of a gut feeling that the management layer, usually this is sort of flight level 2.5 or 3, sort of. I mean, if you're close to the teams, you're going to know the situation anyway, normally. Yeah, so I think they're happy to know, because if we are in a learning state, they can understand like, yeah, okay. So this example I had actually from real life. Someone said like, if it looks like this, then we should decrease our expectations on what is possible. And I was like, yeah, that's good. So that can be one reaction, and this is hopefully where you're going with it. Because normally we push too much stuff into the system, way more than comes out of the system. So we're going to jam it and block it. And this is just expectations management to sort of, if you get 20% out of your teams in general, don't push in stuff as if you got 40, because you're going to jam it. The reaction can vary. I mean, if you have management who knows these things, you probably don't even have to have this workshop. Like if I was working with Stefan here, I probably wouldn't even have this workshop, because you already know this, Stefan, right?
Kind of.
Yeah. It depends.
But it's always good to kind of keep it with the team and continue to look at it again, because things are moving and changing. Yes,
and according, not according, but speaking of that, then this is the Tune poster. It's a lot of colors, but it starts here in the middle with the paradox, and then goes through the formula and the laws around it, and then some patterns about your backlog and who knows stuff. But then at the end, we talk about monitoring. Oh, sorry, it's not in this picture. It's in this picture. This is a pretty cool thing that you can actually do with your teams. So if you do it, I mean, you don't have to do it every sprint, but you can do it every quarter and say like, how does it look now? And then you look at the curves and then whatever changes, and maybe you can have sort of like a reasoning about it. It's like, why did we have more incidents here? Oh yes, that was the big release of system X. That makes sense. And then we went back a little bit. And you can also have like a target state over here, because the team have a target state. That's what they express with their arrows. We want to go up here and down there. So they have a target state. So it's a really good thing to just monitor over time. And then, since this is not rocket science at all, once you've done this workshop, I normally ask the team leader or whomever, it's like, if you want to do this again, can you do it yourself? And they say, yeah, I want your poster, the one I took a shot of in the beginning. It's like, yeah, you can have it. And then they can do it themselves. And it's not going to take 90 minutes. Because now we're into speed and we know what to expect, so we just do it. So I had teams that did that, and after a while they did it in 20 minutes. Full measurement in 20 minutes within the team, no facilitation from the outside. They just sat down, ran the app numbers, had a discussion. It's like, yeah, this one is pretty much the same as last time, pretty much the same. Oh, this one popped up. Okay, let's put it up. So it's really fast to monitor over time.
And I guess that is also yours, one of the success factors, also to monitor this from time to time, and also see what is actually impacting and giving results and so on. That's
because it's always changing. I mean,
exact.
it's never the same over time if you let the time fly long enough. If you look at it every week, it's not going to move. But if you look at it like monthly, if you're in a fast-moving world, or quarterly, if you're in a more slow-moving world, that's totally fine. And probably will give you some data on.
If Nora and I will use this for our management team, what would be the sell pitch for this one to do this?
It depends what your problem.
No. The problem is that, as you said, the 20-80% thingy.
Yeah. Then I would normally, when people have a very, very strong opinion of something, you can ask them if they're willing to bet 1 month's salary on the fact that it is like that. So do you actually know, and are you prepared to bet 1 month of your salary that it is 80% capacity on the team? And then usually they go like, no, I can't. Okay, maybe we should just find out then. Should we do together? But it's all contextual. I mean, there is no true answer. It depends on what people we're talking about, and the politics, and how well you know them, and what kind of confidence you have with them, and what kind of learning state they're in, or if they're running their own show and feel like I know what's best for my organization, or if they're curious. So I'm sorry, no right answer there. Any other questions?
I have a question. I'm curious about taking care of the results. You said that you're usually not involved in that, but someone need to take care of the result, like the team leader or someone. When you look at the arrows, it seems like it's possible to make a box bigger if no one of the other box is meant to be smaller. When you look at this, they are satisfied, and some of the time they want to shrink. But how can they get more time in one box if they can shrink in other boxes?
Yeah. So they're all. So that's the basic concept of this, is that all those work types are in relation to each other. So you can't affect one without affecting another one. That is just pure mathematics, because then we would have to work more than 100%, because this has to equal 100%. But when it comes to sort of the team level, when I have an assignment as a Scrum Master, then I would use this image that we're looking at in our next retro and say, like, is this something we are willing to work on, and how do we do that? I don't have the solutions for it. I might have suggestions, but the team will have solutions for it. It's like, yeah, we can probably do this or that to get this number down, and then we could probably invest that time here, so we over time can get more here. They would have.
Okay, so you will take it back to the team and let them discuss it.
If I was working with the team, yes. Then I would be, if I was the Scrum Master facilitating this workshop for my own team, then at the last point here, I would say, like, hey guys, what do you think we should do with this? Do you think we should invest some time into fixing those red arrows? And I would hope for a yes, and then I would say, like, good. So on our next retro, I will set something up. And we will talk about how to do that. Until then, go out and be an amazing team member and do what you do in this sprint. But at the end of the sprint, we'll talk about this again. Something like that.
Thank you.
Because this is really good stuff for a retro. And it might be a long-term thing, because it's not, I mean, I don't know if you work with Circle of Control, But in the instance I talked about earlier, about when we found out that 40% of this was due to a crappy incident process, it's not in their hands to fix. They need help to fix that because they can't control the incident process at service desk. So then I would have to help them with that. But there are things that we can do ourselves as well. Can we do a different kind of setup where we have a incident goalie rotating, for example, if they haven't tried that, or whatever we can try. But lately I've been working mostly on flight level 2 and 3, so then I would just take this data and give a good handshake to the team coach and say, like, work with this, ask me if you need help, and then I would run away with my data to the management. And both are valid, both works. Any other reflection or question?
I dropped a comment there. It's really interesting to see your approach. Where I come from, we've developed our own model for this.
Yeah.
It's got some like similarities, of course. It's super interesting to see another way of approaching it.
Yeah, cool. And I have a colleague now. He also developed a model for this. So there's more thinking about it because the problem has been there for a while. So a lot of people have been thinking about it and sort of conceptualizing it. And I think you just do whatever floats the boat. This one builds on team assumption and self-assessment rather than actual data, because we know that the data we can pull out from the system is compromised. Sometimes actually I get that in the beginning of the workshop. Someone would say, like, can't you pull this from Jira? And I say, I can, but since you manipulate your data in Jira, I would get crappy numbers. And that is not your fault. And I mean, if we have consultants in teams, they have to put 8 hours in their invoice, which means they have to put 8 hours in their timesheet report. And they have to divide that to 10 different codes. And they work on system 11 that doesn't have a code anymore because the budget is ended. So but they had to do it anyway. Because
I've never seen like accurate data in Jira in any organization.
Exactly.
So
And you probably haven't seen exact data or accurate data in your timesheet reporting either. If you work in Antura or whatever kind of system, it's crappy data.
Yeah. If the company even does timesheet reporting.
Yeah. Many do. So this is why this one builds on self-assessment with the people who is closest to the information, instead of someone else looking into the team. I think they're doing this for 25%. Like, let's ask the team members. Yeah. I think that's it. So I hope it was valuable for you guys. I mean, I got what I wanted. I got a recording. And I will cut away your videos from the recording anyway, because it might be awkward for you to be in there. But your voices will be there. And I will put it out online. It's probably already tonight because it's nothing to wait for. But I hope it gave you some value as well.
It for sure did. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. It was good.
And if you have any questions in the future, just shout out and I'll try to help.
Thanks.
Great.
Thank you.
Have a nice day.
You too.
Take care, Mats.
Bye.
Bye.